Speaking of women's sports, let's get into a woman in a sport, in a male-dominated sport, and that is the MLB, who for 122 years has never had a female umpire until now. Jen Pawol becomes the first woman umpire in Major League history, and she made her debut the other day. At first base, she did a great job. And then the next day, she called her first game behind the plate. I just wanted to go over a few stats because I feel like there may be a bunch of misconceptions about how she did behind the plate. Number one, her accuracy, the balls she called correctly and the strikes she called correctly. That's going to be a 92.72% accuracy. It's not anything good. It's not really good. It's not great. It's not above average. But let's talk about how it compared to the rest of the league. First, let's do how it compared to the rest of the umps who called games on that day. On the day of her debut, there were 3 other umpires that had worse accuracies. There are 4 other umps that have called games this year that average worse than 92.72%. One of them has only called 3 games. The other 3 are full-time umps. One other thing I want to look at, and I did so much research to find this out because there's a website called Ump Scorecards, and you can look at people's accuracy by year. You can look at their game history, but what you can't do is really sort or do splits or anything like that, or filter when you search. So essentially, I had to go through every single umpire who has umped this year, and I had to look at all the umps that debuted between 2015 and now, because that's when they started keeping the data. And for all of the umps that debuted between 2015 and now, I looked at every single one of their debuts. The accuracy of the games that they debuted with calling behind the plate. And amongst 29 umpires, Jen Pawol ranks 17th. So right around the halfway, a little above, well, a little behind halfway, but she ranks right in the middle of all those umpires' debut games. I think it makes sense that a debut game is going to likely, and not always, but likely be a worse accuracy because it's going to be the most pressure you ever have, unless we're talking like a World Series, first World Series, or whatever it may be. But on top of that, she has immense pressure, first, being a woman in this arena in general, and second, being the first woman to ever ump in the history of baseball. Just an immense amount of pressure. So all that to say, I think 92.72 is nothing to scoff at. Great for her first time calling the game. And yeah, I thought it was pretty solid.
People like to complain and unfairly criticize her performance, but really I think she did a good job, and I'm sure she'll only get better with experience at this level.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned people complaining. An account by the name, and there's a million accounts like this, but an account by the name of Dugout Forever decided to show up in my feed, my algorithm, one day on Instagram. They have about 325,000 followers, which is why this is significant at all. But they decided the only thing they posted about Jen Pawol was that her correct call rate was 92.72%, and her umpire average, or the umpire average this year, is 94.23%. Now, this is pretty irrelevant, or just kind of a stupid thing to focus on, considering it's her first game, considering all the stats that I just mentioned. It's a pretty dumb thing to focus on. It's Ragebait, and it's all this account does. In their bio, they say, the hottest baseball highlights straight to your feed. But really, they hardly ever post highlights. They only post completely negative things that they know people will pile on. For instance, Pete Crow Armstrong has hit 84 since the All-Star break. Stuff like that. And like, I don't think it's necessarily never something that should be reported on, but it's all they do is just prey on people's downfall. So I think that's pretty pathetic.